Approximately 6.1 million children, or 9.4%, of children between the ages of 2 and 17 have been diagnosed with ADHD, according to a 2016 study from the Center for Disease Control. And for Joshua Bolton, who has ADHD, he was originally misdiagnosed with schizophrenia because the doctors found him to be a puzzling case and sent him home with a bunch of drugs, which he eventually became dependent upon. He recently found his way out of a life dependent upon pharmaceuticals, and he says his time as a child, where he was inquisitive and curious and asked a whole bunch of questions, really helped us shape him into the person he is today. He joined me to reflect upon his medical journey, his love of technology, and his new infatuation with investing and trading as a result of the pandemic. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. If you're ready, Josh, I'll welcome you to the program, and I'm excited to learn all about your individual journey in life, business, and everything in between. Great to be with you this morning, and thank you so very much for being here.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be on here.
Josh, I know that your life story started a little bit when you were misdiagnosed with ADHD and you thought that it was a schizophrenia. The doctors had told you that, and that sort of shaped the way you have lived your adult life. So I'm wondering if you could tell me all about your story and how you got to where you are today.
All right. Do we want the long story or the quick, dirty one?
Well, I got all the time in the world, so
I do too. So then,
give me as much as you want to give me, buddy.
all right. So pretty much when I was young, back in the 90s, the internet wasn't built out the way it is today. Otherwise, it would have been a completely different story. And pretty much the doctor was fed up with me and just said he's schizophrenic, gave me a bunch of drugs and said, get on your way. We never really questioned it. So since I was 8 till I was like 26, I was on heavy drugs, which only reinforced the idea that I was schizophrenic because I was seeing things from the heavy drugs. So,
yeah, absolutely. And tell me, how do you think that part of your life has sort of shaped the way and the person you are today, Bonnie?
So most of my life, I was pretty much outcasted for being the crazy kid talking about themselves in the yard and stuff. So I never had that many friends growing up. So I got used to being alone and on my own. And as I've demedicated myself and going about life, I've learned as an entrepreneur, you're very lonely. So I look at it as, yes, it was rough as a kid, but it conditioned me as an entrepreneur to understand the journey is long and it's lonely.
Absolutely. And part of your journey is also hosting your own podcast called The Josh Bolton Show, where you talk all about mindset, business, strategies, tips, and tricks, and all about success. So I'm wondering if you can tell me about the Josh Bolton Show as well.
Oh, of course. So when I first started, it was just business. I was talking to great coaches, and it was easier to pitch to a businessman to come on a show than it was people in general. Now I talk to whoever is up for it. There was one of my guests was a author, like a ghostwriter, and her husband was in a wrestler back in the 80s. So I got him on and we were talking about all the crazy shenanigans in the 80s and 90s that wrestlers went through and how he got stabbed 5 times. Someone tried to kill him with a lead tire. There was a train bomb in India. And I'm like, you act like this is perfectly normal. He's like, back in the 80s and 90s for a wrestler? That was a typical Tuesday.
The first floppy disk was created by IBM and Alan Shugart in 1967 and was used in the first personal computer in August of 1981. What relevance does this interesting factoid have in the story of Josh Bolton? Well, he remembers a time we were all dependent on this technological marvel. He took some time out to expand upon how he believes that technology has evolved since the invention of the floppy disk.
That makes more sense. Thank you. Yeah, when I was in the elementary school, it was in the 90s, so still floppy disk. And now when you say floppy disk, the kids, they're like, what's that? You feel like you was premium if you could find a 500 kilobyte floppy disk. Now we have gigabytes just on these little sticks kind of thing. And I remember the Nokia phone and the flip phone. And there was a thing back in the day where you actually had to pay like 10 cents a text. And now it's like unlimited everything. And you really had to pick and choose who you text back in the day. Now it's just like, whatever.
Yeah, and can you also tell me about the way that you've sort of modeled your business philosophy and how you've found success in business as well?
Oh, yeah. So when I finally got off the heavy medications, it was one of the real pivoting point was the market crash in March 2020. And I was like, why are some people dancing in the street like it's the best thing ever? And some crying like Beelzebub entered the room. Started me on this whole journey of learning trading. Then trading is buying businesses. So how is business run? Oh, it's mindset. Okay, how's mindset work? Oh, what's the type of spirituality? So it was just from one event, March 2020, just has spun out, and I realized in doing that, I need to take risk because I was extremely risk averse. I wanted to start this show back in like 2017, but I was back then. Twitter heads were rolling everywhere. They were canceling everyone. So I was like, I don't know. Now that I'm doing it, I'm like, oh wait, that's free advertising. Curse my name, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that martial arts has also played a huge role in your life. So I'm wondering if you could tell me all about it.
So yeah, that was actually, I started when I was 13, and me and my instructor actually were talking about this the other day. I've been with him for 15 years. I've achieved black belt. And I'm going for my second stripe, November 14th. And essentially, yeah, the one thing I told him, and I still remind him every so often, I was a very angry, strong kid, and I did not know what to do with my anger or strength. And that's where he found me just in time. And I told him, like, if you didn't get me, I'd probably be in juvie because I picked so many fights and be on a very, very bad life projection.
Yeah, well, I want to congratulate you on your martial arts achievements and certainly the positive impact it's had on your life. It sounds like it's affected every aspect of your life. And would you agree that it's for the better?
Oh, 100%. It's one of those, we joke in the system. It's like once you hit a certain rank within the system, like of knowledge, you realize you're actually very dangerous and you don't want to pick fights because it's like, I don't want to do it. Please go away, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me, I know that your grandfather had a tremendous impact on you in terms of the
Mhm.
importance he told you about asking questions. So I'm wondering if you could dive into that for me.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, he was classic man's man, the legend of legends. He's taken, as when he was younger, some backstories. He would take everyone to like um Mount Whitney. They climb glaciers, frozen waterfalls, just you name it. He's probably done it. And he essentially was one of those. I was chopping some wood, and I was doing it wrong. And then he asked me, he's like, "Why are you doing it? I showed you the correct way. Why'd you change it?" I said, "Oh, so and so told me to do it." He's like, "You didn't ask a question. You didn't ask if they know the knowledge." I'm like, "No." He's like, "Don't be an idiot." He's like, "Not agree, but don't do what they say." He's like, "You're better off asking questions and doing what you know works." He's like, "You can't make everyone happy." He's like, "It's impossible. Focus on the few you can make happy." And that was a
Yeah,
huge pivoting moment for me.
yeah, absolutely. Josh, I always tell people that life is a constant game of learning, and when you stop learning, is the day that you die. That's sort of the philosophy that I live my life by. So I can certainly respect that perspective for sure. But Josh, you tell me that the pandemic has allowed you to investigate trading and investing more. So I'm wondering and curious, based on your background, why it was so important for you to sort of put some energy in between that particular space in general.
Oh, so it was just one of those when the event it started. I was always thinking. I was a bit entrepreneur even at a young age. My legendary grandfather was the one that started me mowing, and then my mother's father, like would pay me too. So I would just entrepreneurial. But I got to the point. I'm like, okay, how do I make passive income? If I decide to just disappear for a month, I'm not, but it's just hypothetically, how do I still make money? And that's when I realized, oh, trading, oh, investing in stock markets, real estate kind of thing. I just right now just kind of I don't have the cash to play that game, but I'm working on it. And it's just how do I make my life easier so I can work on different opportunities that come.
And Josh, tell me, you've had such an interesting life journey to this point. So I'm wondering your thoughts on what's been your proudest life moment to this point, Bunny.
There's a few. I would say actually achieving black belt, actually doing it because it's a rare feat. But there was a kid. Uh, I would because of the misdiagnosing, they put me in the extremely special needs classes, and his name was Jim. Awesome dude. Um, and his parents bought him a nice new like I think it was Lightning McGee when it first came out for cars, and everyone was making fun of him for his lunch pail. But then when he opened it, he had a Jimmy John's sub. No, it wasn't Jimmy John's. I wasn't out yet. It was Jersey Mike's, which is like a $15 sandwich. And everyone's still ratting and making him feel bad. And I pretty much tapped his shoulder and said, "Hey, they're making fun of you, but you got that $15 sub and they can't even afford to buy an inch of it." I said, "Enjoy your sandwich." And everyone was just like, got quiet. He just munched away on that sandwich. It just made me feel good because he was getting bullied. And I don't appreciate that. I stand up for those who are getting bullied kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Josh, I don't know if you knew this, but October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month.
Oh,
And I'm going to share this with you. I was also born with what's called spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy, but I've lived with it all
okay.
of my all of my life. So, as someone who's overcome disability challenges in your life, I'm more wondering your thoughts on the significance of raising awareness about the positive benefits of hiring people with disabilities.
Oh, this is actually funny. One of my guests came on. He was talking about the equality and whatever, and he was mainly focusing on BLM, which is again, it's a very important movement. But I said, okay, if we're going to focus on hiring them, what about the blind, the deaf, and the autistic? Are we just going to leave them out? That's not segregated just to white people. That's everyone, all races, all ethnicities, sexualities, kind of thing. Like I said, if you can figure out a routine for them, I said, oh my God, the fact that you're working them, they will lift mountains for you, kind of thing. Like and you're not like slave labor or whatever. It's you're bringing value to their life. And that's where he kind of like, oh yeah, you're right. Said, see, if we're going for this equality, you kind of said, even if it's like, I couldn't think of a better phrase at the time. I'm like, even if it's a Walmart greeter, oh my gosh, you are still making an impact on the community, kind of thing. So
Yeah, absolutely. And Josh, tell me, for people who are watching this, I'm curious to get your perspective on the importance of valuing your life's journey and living life to the fullest. What would you tell people about the importance of taking life as it comes and making sure that they don't miss any moment of their life?
my philosophy nowadays is kind of a stoic approach. It is what it is. You can't change the past. Just embrace it. It is you. Love yourself, and just continue looking forward. If you trip up, celebrate the failure and keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. And Josh, tell me, if people want to get connected with you, buddy, what's the best way they can accomplish that goal?
I'm pretty much everywhere now. Twitter, Josh Bolton Show, Instagram, same thing. I'm on TikTok, trying that out. But then they can hit me up on joshboltonshow@gmail.com.
Fantastic. You know, Josh, I really enjoyed getting to know a little bit more about your life story and how it shaped you into the person you are today. Your time, energy, and efforts on my behalf are most appreciated. I want to thank you for getting up early this morning for me, and I want to thank you for being here. It's most appreciated.
Thank you for letting me on. It was an absolute honor and a pleasure.